Well, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Neva for inviting us. Hofstra to be involved. And I want to thank my colleague, Carla Hamilton, because she's the one that introduced me to Dr. Neva. All right, so if you're a Hofstra student or a Hofstra alum, make some noise. All right, so my first question to the panel is, I'd actually like you to tell everyone your elevator pitch. Okay, so that's when you meet someone new, all of us should have an elevator pitch, right? That's that 1 to 2 minute commercial about yourself. So I'm just gonna have them pass the mic around and share their pitch. And we'll just start.
All right, first and foremost, thank you so much, Dr. Neva, Nevalliance, and Hofstra University, Lauren. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Happy Women's History Month! I'm so honored to be here with all of you today. My name is Amy Flores, and I am Vice President, Community Manager at JP Morgan Chase. First generation college graduate from Hofstra University, currently serving on the executive board of the Black and Hispanic Alumni Association. But I'm also a daughter of immigrant parents that immigrated here from El Salvador, grew up in Hempstead, and my family, raised me in a way to not only never forget about giving back to the community, but always making sure that we are a part of the community and giving back to make sure that we are moving forward together for generations to come. So it's a pleasure to be here with all of you this afternoon, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Well, hi everybody. I hope you're doing well and hope you've enjoyed so far. My name is Christine Rice. I am the Director of Marketing at the Association of Latino Professionals for America, also known as ALPHA, the New York chapter. And I'm also an MBA student at Hofstra University's Art School of Business, and my concentration is in marketing. My professional background includes Big Four consulting as well as working in sports, so it's been a really great ride. A little bit about me as a person. I come from a Dominican family, so shout out to my family. I'm from the Bronx, New York, and a fun fact about me is that I'm very passionate about DE&I.
Thank you, everyone. I wanted to tweak my elevator pitch a little bit more towards Hofstra because I have a lot to say. I'm really grateful for my school, and so right now I am Associate Director of Marketing North America at HelloFresh, and I love food. Yes. Shout out to everyone who loves food. And I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my Hofstra journey because I started school in 2015, graduated in 2017. While I was in school, I was the president of Azar Women in Business. Woo! And shout out to the club here. I was the director of Hofstra Business Consulting Group, working with local Long Island businesses. And right now at my company, not only am I passionate about marketing, I am also passionate about DEI. So I currently serve as a event management pillar at the, we call it LIMES. It's focused on minority, and which is tied back to myself. I'm a zero generation. I'm still a foreigner here, and I'm still loving the American journey. I've been here for 10 years, and living in New York City, it's been a great ride, and still here living every day. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Deloney. Pronouns are she, her, and I am the president and founder of Level Up Coaching and Consulting. After spending over 12 years in corporate America and getting very frustrated and exhausted with performative diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, as well as companies not fully tracking what they put on their websites, I took that passion, I took that drive, and birthed something that was never even a thing for me until I attended Hofstra and obtained my MBA. Aside from that, I've been working in this space for organizations like Northwell Health and most recently Warner Music Group, but more importantly, I am born and raised in Amityville, New York. I am a sister, a daughter of two amazing late parents, an auntie, a godmother, and a community sister to so many people that I'm seeing and so many familiar faces. So thank you so much to the entire team behind this conference for the invitation.
Okay, this first question is for Christine and RT. Okay, give an example of a difficult leadership challenge you faced and how you overcame it.
All right, I can take this one. The first story I wanted to share in terms of a difficult leadership challenge that I faced, I would say was my first time not only becoming only having a direct report. It was actually my first time becoming a department lead where I was overseeing 5+ people. And my previous company is an advertising agency, mid-size, located in New York City. I was their first external hire as a mid-level. Their tradition is you join as an intern and you grow to be associate, senior associate, manager, and above. And then I basically, came in the middle of the process that instead of, directly going from the internship and up, I was hired from outside as a manager to manage the department. And I had a lot of conflicts when that happened because the people that I was managing, they're already a very close group and they're following one of the senior analysts as a leader, and I kind of have to, inject myself into them and take over the leadership. And I have a little bit more to share about this later. I learned a lot from this story, but it was really difficult because none of them would follow my direction. And also, I was also very confused because I think just from a structural perspective, I think the company didn't really figure out how they want to place me versus the previous person that everybody was reporting to. So there was a lot of, stepping on each other's toes and whatnot. So my biggest learning from this one is it took me a long time to take my power back. At the beginning, I was a bit intimidated. I was a bit confused. I didn't know how to handle this situation. And I stepped back. I let them, I want to make sure they're comfortable. The people who are reporting to me are comfortable. My presence wasn't too scary for them or wasn't too shocking for them. So I was very soft at the beginning. And you'll hear me talk about this story again because I gave my power away and it took about 18 months for me to take that power back. So the biggest story that I learned is that as nice as I want to be, I think when you are assigned as a leadership role, it is very important to know your responsibilities, including people management. So at the beginning, making sure that what kind of leader you want to be and how do you want to present yourself to the people that's going to report to you, establish the rapport, establish your presence is extraordinarily difficult because once that's out, once you don't have that, it's going to take a long time to build it back. So that was a little bit of my story. I'll talk a little bit more later.
A really good story you shared. So kind of sharing my story on the other side of things. So like I shared, I was a management consulting working at a big work firm. Very, very transparently, I was the only woman there, the only woman of color. So obviously, with a lot of situations, I tread carefully. So on this assignment, our client was coming to the United States for the first time from Japan. So with our client, we had to set up a town hall event to kind of mix the new company, the folks from Japan, as well as the folks at the client site. So for me, being a 23-year-old consultant at the time, I was just like, am I the pro? Like, what am I supposed to do? So basically, with the guidance of my manager and everything, I had my tasks, The challenge for me, especially as a leader, stepping into the shoes of a position like this, was kind of asking myself, like, do I deserve to be here? I don't see anybody who looks like me. Like, who am I going to look up to? And I think in this situation, in terms of not only executing the event, but also thinking about how I feel as a young professional, when I think about this leadership challenge, I think that not only planning out the event as well as the execution of it, answering questions as they come up. For me, the real challenge came from, how do I want to show up in this project? Do I want to, go guns a-blazing right ahead, or do I kind of want to take kind of a step back? So for me, I decided to kind of find a mix of both. Not only sharing my skill set, my communication skills, problem solving, as well as my planning skills, but more importantly, I found a way to have a presence in a place where I didn't necessarily know what to do. I'm a first-generation college student, first person in my family to get a master's, and oftentimes I'm asking myself, am I doing this right? Like, I don't know, a lot of questions I keep asking myself, and from this experience, it really helped me build my confidence to say, I do deserve to be in this room. I'm here for a reason, just because And just because I didn't see anybody who looked like me or had a similar life experience, understand where I've come from to get to where I am, that doesn't mean I couldn't have an impact. And, in this situation, luckily our client loved what we did. Love that client to this day. But nonetheless, I think it was something I definitely brought into my MBA and feel so supported by Hofstra to bring who I am, to every experience. So, thank you.
So mentorship and sponsorship were mentioned throughout the conference and how important that is for us to lift each other up. So this question is for Amy and Andrea. Can you give examples of how you were either a mentor or mentee?
Absolutely. Again, also being first generation, when you're first generation, there's a lot of first, right? And there's a lot of navigation and questions, very similar to, how Christine mentioned. But looking and making sure that you are surrounding yourself with women, with men, with your community that will uplift you and that will be there to say, you got this. Believe in yourself. Mentorship, being a mentor, being a mentee is very important. For me personally, I actually am both. I'm a mentor to younger women who I've actually stayed in touch with throughout the years to be able to not only guide them, because we know that in society today it's very different compared to how we grew up in, right? And technology has definitely advanced throughout the years. But being a guiding light for those who may need to just have that self-assurance or maybe have that confidence that they can make a phone call to. And you can never be too young or too old to have a mentor. I actually have a couple of different mentors. I have professional mentors who I actually schedule time out, or coffee chats, even virtual coffee chats. We know we're very busy, especially as business women, as mothers, as sisters. So just blocking out that time, the way that you block out time to, get your nails done or, go and have different engagement, block out that time for yourself, for that self-care, but when it comes to the inside of your professional being and making sure that you're scheduling that time to connect with like-minded or, leaders that you can connect with. And also make sure to be selective with who you want to have that person. Because there's a lot of people that might want to be that, sponsor or mentor for you. Make sure that you're really selecting someone who not only is making the time for you the way that you're making the time for them, but someone who's not only going to make the time, but that's going to also advocate for you. Someone that's going to speak for you, especially in rooms where you are not there. And not only select someone that's going to do that, but you also be that person for someone else. And I just wanted to add just one quick note. I remember growing up, how your parents always say, don't do that, don't do this. I know, Mom. But it's always living experiences, learned experiences. So making sure that you're not only being a mentor to others, having that mentee to come with you, to see you, right? And I actually wanted to mention, I actually have my daughter here today. And I brought her here because I think it's also important to be able to guide our future generation, our young women, because that's who they are. So let's not only lead in the roles that we are, but not forget to bring our younger generation along with that, because they are our future.
So my relationship when it comes to mentoring, I think it's a little bit different in the sense that I have someone who is my mentor and is more than 10 years younger than me. And this concept of reciprocal mentoring has become more and more pivotal as we think about the dynamics in the age generations that are entering into the workforce. And when we think about what your traditional mentoring relationship looks like, it's your senior professional who is constantly pouring wisdom, pouring their experiences, pouring their expertise into that junior talent, but there's a missed opportunity for that junior person to share that perspective to that senior person who is now managing a more diverse workforce. So if you are a mentor or if you are a mentee, I empower you to have that conversation with your mentoring partner, because it's important that we start creating spaces for junior talent to be even more comfortable to challenge those who are in leadership positions who may not necessarily be progressive in their approach to today's challenges in the workforce or the evolving landscape of how business is being conducted. And addition to that, when I think about sponsorship, right? Like, I mean, sis, you nailed it. And I say sis because I've known of Amy for years. We've been at 1 million events over the past month, and this is our first time finally able to like sit down together. But when we talk about sponsorship, it is so important that if you are wanting or hoping or expecting people to plug you in rooms when you're not even there, make sure you are in a position to produce the work that they are going to advocate for you. Having been in DEI, and of course we know that there are so many barriers that exist that intentionally keep people who look like many of us in this room out of the conversation. I have also been in positions where I've wanted to sponsor, I have wanted to advocate for, and we were simply not ready and were unprepared. So it's equally important that we are holding up our end of this conversation so that way people are excited to sponsor us, so that way people are willing to sponsor us, and so that way when we get tapped on for these opportunities, we can show up and show out in a way that makes our sponsors proud of us.
Christine, did you want to add to the conversation?
Sure. So definitely it's been great to hear about the mentor side and kind of want to share about the mentee side. Like I shared previously, oftentimes so let me explain this. At Alpha New York, I'm the youngest director on the board. So the big joke is, oh my gosh, she's like so young. I'm like, oh, okay. And I think a lot of times, especially for Gen Zers, as well as we make our way up, I think obviously mentorship is so important. So finding, like you said, that corporate sponsor, that person who's going to speak well about you when you're not in the room. But at the same time, as the mentee, it's so important to be reciprocal. So yeah, maybe I do not, know how to operate in the C-suite, but maybe if you're looking for feedback about, hey, how can I better connect with a colleague who's around your age or your level? How do I create that sense of relatability, things like that, kind of being a sounding board? Because mentorship, it's easy to be like, hey, can you give me advice on something? And then just kind of keep moving forward and focus on the one-sided. I think it's super important as a mentee, from that perspective, to have both sides that, you can help them, but they can help you. My mentee's actually here. Shout out to her. And but for me, my mentor, I, connect with her on a regular basis, but it's, possible to be, like you said, Amy, both a mentor and a mentee at the same time. And make sure that you make people's time worthwhile, because look, we're all busy, things happen, and definitely want to make the best of everything. So mentees, make sure you take care of your mentor for all of you out there today. So.
This question is for RT. And RT was sharing her story before, but in that same company, she got promoted from manager up to director in a really short period of time. So RT, please share how that happened.
Yes, thank you for the shout out, Lauren. I think, when I went to the company, I was a manager. It took me, like I said, about 18 months to take my power back. And at that time, not only do I have to focus on how to still being able to, manage this team, another big part that I focused, and I know there's thousands, millions of career advice out there on TikTok, Instagram, Reels, anywhere. For me, I'm a little engineer-minded, especially when I'm working. I basically purely focus on business results. I focus on just being awesome. I focus on driving the business goals, helping my business handle problems. I was able to save 2 major clients that one of them was so threatening that probably none of the coworkers were like, oh, I'll I raise my hand, I'll take this client. I basically was given to these 2 clients, especially one of them being a major one, and I solved the relationship. I solved it. I found the business problem. I solved the business problem. And how that helped me is that first of all, I didn't really think that I want to get promoted, so this is what I would do 1, 2, 3. What I did is basically, I don't care if I get promoted or not. I don't care what the next step is. I just want to go 120% to get the business right. I think that my mentality has helped me not only to succeed in that business, but also in my career. That's one thing. And the second thing is when I show, it took me 18 months to take my power back, right? And when I took my power back, it wasn't really like, oh, guys, let's have a conversation, let's have outings, and let's have more group meetings. I was simply showing how capable I am. And when people who didn't really buy into me being their manager, they saw that I have this I'm a powerhouse, that I was able to help the company guide through their difficult times. And especially during COVID, a lot of people, just tapped out during that period of time, and I was leading the entire team. We never had any layoffs. We never had any problems through that period of time with people, not feeling well, and we always try to make sure everything is all in place, and I'm extremely involved in everything. And I think just by showing an example, showing the leadership, that really made people think, okay, RT is not just coming to be our boss and bosses around. She's a leader that we aspire to, and we follow her lead. So that's where my first promotion came in as the senior manager, 6 months later associate director, 6 months later director. So it was a very, very crunched timeline. And again, it's because I demonstrated that I had a capability to not only manage a large group of people, but also I was capable of managing difficult clients, but also expand the scope again and again and again. So it's definitely a great story of my career that I was able to get promoted very quickly. But still today, I don't really hold that as a standard in the sense that, if I go to a new job, I want to get promoted again and again. To me, again, my laser focus is on 120% focused on the business problems. And when you demonstrate that you have the capability of expanding your scope to manage large groups and to address business problems, I think promotions will just come. Like I said, I think I focus on being irreplaceable than how do I get to the next step. So that's my advice, and that's what I've learned through this difficult period of time of my career.
So there are quite a few women entrepreneurs out there, and one of the earlier conversations is about the lack of resources. And so, Amy, can you share about your role at JPMorgan Chase and as a manager of community relations, and how you help people like that?
Sure, thank you, Lauren. Shout out to all my women in business here today, right? And also to the young entrepreneurs in the back as well. I saw these wonderful women, young ladies, that really blew my mind away. And for me as a community manager, when I took on this role, it really resonated with me because it was mission-driven and it was purposeful. We saw how COVID-19 highlighted the inequities that have existed in our minority communities for many years. We saw how so many families had trouble with putting food on the table. Businesses had to close down. A lot of families and businesses did not have emergency funds saved up. So Chase decided to do something about this. So JPMorgan Chase committed $30 billion, billion dollars on a national level to closing the racial equity gap, because they saw how COVID highlighted so many of the inequities and the disproportionate impact, specifically in our Black and Brown communities. So through this commitment, it encompasses different pillars. One of the pillars is workforce diversity. We are a second chance employer, and also making sure that our employees are financially healthy. Another pillar is homeownership and affordable housing, making sure that we're providing opportunities for the community to build intergenerational wealth through homeownership opportunities. A third pillar is financial health. So my role as a community manager falls under the financial health pillar, which focuses on driving economic inclusion and making sure that our communities are financially healthy, because we know a lot of working families, a lot of communities are just not having those conversations, whether it is, because of our cultural norms. I know I personally, growing up, we're not allowed to talk about money. You don't share how much you make, you don't talk about that. But making sure that we're advocating to ensure that these conversations are being had, so that this way we are building when it comes to our finances. Now, on top of financial health, making sure that we're active in the community and partnering with community organizations, because we cannot do this work alone. So making sure that we're partnering with organizations such as Nevalliance and Hofstra University and other nonprofits and churches and stakeholders to make sure that everyone has equitable access to these resources. And then fourth is minority-owned businesses, and that's where all of you come in. We want to make sure that our minority-owned businesses, and not just minority-owned, all businesses have the resources and tools that they need to be able to grow and scale their business. access to capital, access to government contracting, marketing. What can we do to fit into that equation so that this way we're not having that same situation that we had during the COVID-19 pandemic? We want to make sure that our businesses are not only thriving, but that they have access to those resources. And we also offer mentoring and coaching to make sure that we're on that pathway. And you don't even have to be a Chase customer to participate in these resources. So again, let's close the equity gap together. We cannot do this work alone. And it's about making sure that our communities are financially thriving. The way that we talk about our physical health and we go to the doctor to get our checkups, let's make sure that we talk about our financial health. Because if we don't have our money in order and we can't budget or we can't pay our bills, what happens? We're stressed, we have anxiety, and it can create more problems. So let's make it a normal conversation so that this way we're growing for generations to come, and that this way our economy and our communities are thriving together.
So there's been research that women have stronger emotional intelligence than men, right? That's what they call EQ. That's our superpower, right? Shout out to us women, right? And that is our ability to understand our emotions and manage them, as well as understand the emotions